Hi, guys. Exciting news for season 4. The Thrive Tribe newsletter is for everyone and it's free.
To sign up for our newsletter and to get more out of Chasing Brighter and engage with our amazing community, go to chasingbrighter.com/newsletter to get the latest updates.
And every month we have freebies, so check it out.
Welcome to the Chasing Brighter podcast, the podcast created as a guide to make midlife the best life.
Are you ready to embrace the next chapter of your life with confidence and excitement? Your best life is just a listen away.
Welcome back to Chasing Brighter. Today we're talking about something we all wrestle with, fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. But the secret is fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal. It means that we're stepping toward growth. And when you learn to move through fear, you discover your fire, your passion, your joy, and your purpose.
Yeah. And, you learn a little bit about yourself along the way, too. When we think of courage, a lot of us just think about this picture, this huge life-changing moment, something that's like out of the movies. You're running into a burning building, you're giving a speech to thousands. But courage actually shows up also in smaller daily moments and choices. It's saying yes to coffee with somebody new. Maybe it's trying a new class that you think is going to be bad, or a new restaurant you think is going to be bad. But it's telling yourself that I deserve a life that feels good.
Yeah. There's so many different ways that we can show courage in small moments. I don't know about you, Kelly. I know I shared before, I'm not one that's really anxious, but like anytime I have to go to, like you were saying, a new restaurant, a new place, a new whatever, I get overwhelmed. So I love when a place has an app so I can look up the menu. Do you get that way? Like, do you feel overwhelmed? Like, let's say you go to a new coffee shop and they have a board. The whole wall is like 20 feet long and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to order. Do you get nervous, just kind of going to a new place?
I do, especially going to Michigan all the time and trying all the new places. I definitely have a lot of that. I'm not afraid, but I think just you and I aren't afraid to try new things. But
Yeah.
I still have this weight of things. Like I had not been to. There's this I don't know, gas station, and I think because it's such podunk small town. I'm like, oh God, are they going to know that I'm from out of town or something? Like there's this weird.
There's a city girl coming in over here.
Yeah. And then I walk in and I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. And you don't even think about it. And so it just kind of pushing through that courage of the fear that you have of that. But I got to tell you, one of the fears that I am challenged with sometimes is at work, because for my job in consulting, sometimes I have to tell people what they don't want to hear. And so I have this incredible fear of telling them something and upsetting them.
Yeah.
And the more I've just learned to just push through it and to really focus on the truth and the facts, because it's so much better when you get past that fear, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I have been going to Pilates about 4.5 years, but that was nerve-wracking to walk in, sign up, go to my first class. I had never done a reformer machine before. And so that was scary for me, but then it opened me up to connection and growth, right? It opened me up to meeting new people, finding a new community that I really enjoyed. I think when we go to podcast conferences, we so far haven't gone to an annual conference, right? We've done different conferences. And so I get anxious, it's a lot of networking.
Yeah.
And, but then the growth is all of these connections of all of these friends and connections we made across the country, across the world. And so that has been worth it.
Yeah. Along those lines of fear too is really talking about, building social connections. I think one of the scariest things in adulthood is putting yourself out there socially.
Yeah.
Whether you've moved, Maybe you've lost touch with old friends or simply wanting to have those deeper relationships. Really building a network takes courage. I was just talking to one of my girlfriends yesterday. Her oldest just started kindergarten and she's like, I really haven't like found my moms. And she was like talking about all these glorious stories of how all these people have all these like mom friends and she doesn't really have any yet. And, I think it's funny, but also like I was just telling her, like, you got to put yourself out there socially when you're ready, right? Because part of
Yeah.
that is, if you're not, it's like the lottery. You can't win if you don't play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we just start small, right? Reach out to one person, invite them for coffee. Using that example, when I was taking my oldest, who's 17 and a senior now, boo hoo. But when I was taking her to preschool, there was another mom every day that was dropping off, and her daughter was in another class, but she had a little baby boy the same. Like we were dropping off with little baby on our hip every day. And so just by starting out and saying, hey, how old's your little guy? There was like a park across the street. Maybe we can go take them to the park one day. And that was very small. And that worked out and developed into a friendship.
It's maybe being aware of those moments too, where you can kind of have the courage to do that. So this is where, maybe you have these grandiose ideas, but really starting small in these daily actions that you're taking to reach out to a person. Or you can also, even for that, is the idea of joining communities. So whether it's a club, a workout class, a volunteer group, if it's at your kid's school, some of that stuff is hard because I always felt like everyone else already knew each other and then I didn't. But
Yeah.
everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah.
And I have found, especially in a school setting, for the most part, everyone is very welcoming when you volunteer because chances are
Hmm.
they need help and they don't care.
Yeah.
And so they get your help and maybe you benefit from building some new connections.
I think volunteering across the board is a great way to get to know people and to tap
Yeah.
into a community. There's so many. You can go to volunteer.org, find something you're passionate about. If it's animals, animal shelters, whatever it is. I don't know how people get into this, and this will be in my second life, but like people that go hold babies in the NICU, I
Jess,
would
I
love to
have
just go hold a baby.
my friend Andrew does that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been doing it for 20 years.
Oh my
He volunteers
gosh.
once a week
Yeah.
and it's his Wednesday thing. He's probably
Yeah.
doing it literally right now as we're recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you get into it. I don't know how, I mean, he did it a long time ago. He got into it, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear his stories.
And when you're doing that, it's just embracing vulnerability, and it's okay to say, right? Like when you show up, I'm looking to make more connection. Because I think honesty draws people in. I think I'm honest, and it is interesting, but like really for most of my life, I didn't really care what people think about me anyway, right? And so it's just like being yourself and embracing it. And if you're coming from authenticity, I think people are drawn to that, right? Not perfection.
I totally agree. I think that a lot of people either they feel that way and they're afraid to say it, or sometimes you're saying something a lot of people hadn't really thought about that they might share the same thought or something
Yeah.
different, but it kind of sparks some introspection sometimes even in them about why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. I think it's important just to think of connection as planting seeds. You don't know which ones will grow, but
Yep.
taking the first step is a courageous act. So that's just how we can take courage with connection. And we have a couple other segments we want to talk about continuing with building courage in different areas of our life.
Yeah. So our next strategy for finding courage is having that courage in hobbies and joy. So fear tells us, "Oh, you look silly or you'll waste time. You're too old for this." Courage is saying, "I am allowed to play. I'm allowed to enjoy my life." So really flipping the script on thinking about fear versus courage.
Yes. And we have done a lot of episodes about joy, hobbies, creativity. And we had before, Martha Beck has a book out called Beyond Anxiety, and it's all about how creativity can be an antidote to anxiety. And so it's important particularly in midlife when we're are transitioning anytime in the life cycle when we're transitioning kind of identities, is exploring hobbies and joy. And so some examples would be starting dance lessons. I'm going to sign mom up. Our mother has always wanted to do tap, has always wanted to do tap dancing. We need to get her some shoes and sign her up. But, like signing up for dance lessons, joining a hiking group, trying watercolor painting. I know I've shared
Yeah.
before doing a craft. I started a craft club with my girlfriends and we're starting craft club again in September. So maybe it's just like kind of getting a group of like-minded people together of something that you guys all, maybe you all say, oh, I'd love to learn to make this or whatever. And it's just like calling a couple of friends and like learning to make, a certain kind of meal. I have a friend that taught a couple of us how to make gnocchi. So, even just learning something new together.
Yeah, one of my things I enjoy is golfing, and I joined a golf league a couple of years ago and met some wonderful ladies. And then life kind of got busy and it was really hard for me to commit that amount of time, but I still have those relationships. And it's quite
Yeah.
surprising because I kind of like, it's like I kind of knew one person, her and I golfed together, my friend Carrie, and got partnered with these other two women and we had the best time. And I kind of peeled off, but she texted me on like Monday and was like, hey, are you available to golf tomorrow? We have a tea time if you want to come. And I was thinking about my fear of like, I haven't played much all summer. Those ladies have played all summer. I'm not going to be good. I'm too busy. And you know what? I was like, screw it. I'm going to go do it. I don't care about how I'm going to play. I just want to build those connections and spend time with them and enjoy the day. It was beautiful. The weather was. And, I'm really glad I did that. It takes a lot of time sometimes for us to make time for a hobby, or make time for things we
Yeah.
enjoy because we're
Yeah.
busy and we can always do laundry and clean the house or I
Yeah.
was getting pinged by people at work while I was on the golf course. And I was like, I'm golfing right now. I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
But really setting those things aside because joy isn't frivolous, right? And, I think just it helps us fuel that resilience and it helps light us up, and
Yeah.
that's really the most important part in terms of building confidence and, just having a better life.
Absolutely. And I think this next segment kind of ties into September, which, we're all about kind of like fueling passion and purpose, but just that courage and living with purpose. Purpose can sound intimidating, like something only visionaries discover or thought leaders, but everyday courage helps us build a purposeful life in small steps. Just asking yourself, what matters most? Because really, courage is aligning your choices with your values, even when it's uncomfortable. I think, again, our September episodes talk a lot about this, but so many of us are living a life or spending our time with something that doesn't really align with our values. And so it does take courage to make change and redefine success because success isn't about what looks good, but it's about it is about what feels authentic.
Yeah. And, it's about taking risks. Sometimes purpose requires you to step outside your comfort zone, whether it's a career shift, having a difficult conversation, finding a new passion or a new volunteer opportunity. But really, it's taking those risks in a lot of ways is how we grow. So,
Mm-hmm.
an example of that is maybe choosing to spend more time with family, starting a side project, saying no to things that drain you. I also think about this in terms of our world of social media, right? Where you can spend so much time on, Facebook or looking at reels and really kind of time boxing some of that, thinking about how that really does that serve you and thinking about your purpose. And like, we're all very busy. And so a lot of it is how you want to spend, the nooks and crannies of your day sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talked when we had an episode where we talked about a values audit, and I have reduced my consumption of social media because it was a way for me to dissociate every day And ever since I've stopped doing that and I've been more intentional and purposeful, I feel so much better and my stress levels are down. Something that I am doing that is taking courage, right, and living with purpose is starting a second podcast. And there are some things I've always wanted to do with my practice that I was afraid to do on my own. And I've tried to collaborate with a few colleagues and nothing really was panning out. And it was just still something like in my mind about, I just think I need to be creating courses, sharing more in the mental health space. And so just doing it, right? Just taking the time and just doing it and taking that step. So sometimes it's just take that first step and that's how we can push through the fear and become more courageous.
So the next thing we want to talk about, which we have in, a lot of our episodes lately, is really talking about, a journal prompt and a reflection of this episode. Take a moment this week and journal on this question, which is, where is fear showing up in my life? What would I like to take one small step through that fear toward connection, toward joy, or toward purpose? Sometimes the bravest thing isn't leaping. It is just taking the right step in that direction.
Yeah. We also challenge you to do one small thing that scares you and notice the fire that it sparks. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Try again, reach out, begin here. In everyday life, courage shows up in friendships, hobbies, purpose.
Thank you for joining us again today and listening in on Chasing Brighter. Again, if you love today's episode, share it with a friend, somebody who needs that courage boost. And as always, keep chasing brighter. Thanks for listening today.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend.
Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together.